On December 31st, 2025, a quiet war for the truth was being fought in the digital vaults of Washington, D.C. For months, we have been tracking 3I Atlas, the third confirmed interstellar visitor to ever grace our solar system. We were told it was just a simple comet, but the data coming back in the first weeks of 2026 has shattered that narrative. We are no longer just looking at a rock. We are looking at a pattern of anomalies that should not exist in nature, from the detection of atomic nickel in its tail to a carbon dioxide ratio 700% higher than anything we have ever seen. San Atlas is behaving like a geochemical nightmare. And then there is the silence. The Maven probe, our primary eye near Mars, went dark the moment it was supposed to capture the first high-resolution images of this visitor. Shortly after, the CIA officially invoked the National Security Act of 1947, refusing to confirm or deny the existence of their own records on the object. Reference F2026002331 is not just a piece of paper, it is a barricade. It is the moment the heavens became classified. Today, we are doing a full situation report. We are going beyond the headlines to piece together the scientific anomalies, the sudden death of our hardware in space, and the legal fortress being built around an object that is now heading straight for a massive gravitational encounter with Jupiter. What gets me is how fast the lights are being turned off. We are looking at the 2026 Black Swan event, the moment the truth became too heavy to hide. I am about to share with you is not speculation. This is based on leaked documents, official FOIA responses, and testimony from scientists who are risking their careers to get this information out. For months, we have been tracking 3I Atlas. We watched it enter our solar system in early 2025. We watched it make its closest approach to Earth on December 19, 2025. We documented the strange wobbling of its anti-tail, a structure larger than the distance from Earth to the Moon. But what happened in late December 2025 changed everything. The CIA invoked a Glomar response. The Maven probe went dark, and the chemical signature of this object revealed something that should not exist. In this video, I am going to show you exactly what the CIA is hiding. I am going to explain what the Glomar response really means. I am going to show you why Maven's failure was not an accident. I am going to explain the chemical anomalies that prove this is not a natural object. And I'm going to show you why the Jupiter encounter on March 17, 2026 is the most important date in human history. By the end of this video, you will understand why the silence from official channels is not just bureaucratic caution. It is a deliberate cover-up, and what they are covering up might be the most important discovery humanity has ever made. Let's begin. In the world of government transparency, there is a specific kind of no that is much louder than a regular refusal. It is called a Glomar response. If you ask a government agency for records and they do not have them, they just tell you, no records found. It is simple, it is boring, it ends the conversation. But when the CIA responds to a FOIA request by saying they can neither confirm nor deny the existence of documents regarding 3I Atlas, they are doing something very specific. They are telling the world that even admitting the CIA is interested in this object would reveal a secret that is vital to the safety of the United States. I cannot shake the feeling that we have been looking at this all wrong. We have been treating this as a search for knowledge, while the people with the real sensors are treating it as a search for a threat. The Glomar response was born in the Cold War, used originally to hide the existence of a secret underwater salvage ship designed to steal a sunken Soviet submarine. It is a tool of high-stakes espionage. So when it gets applied to 3I Atlas, we have to ask, what is the CIA seeing through their lenses that the rest of us are not? If this was just a comet, there would be no sources and methods to protect you. Just point a telescope at it and share the pictures. But the CIA's letter, dated December 31st, 2025, explicitly mentions that the very existence of these records is classified under Executive Order 13526. They are essentially staring into the void and refusing to blink, even as the public demands to know what is out there. Some researchers wonder if this is because 3i Atlas is not just moving on its own, if the agency has detected signals or a metallic composition that should not be there, or a propulsion system that defies our understanding of physics. Admitting those records exist would change the world overnight. The CIA's job is not to advance science, it is to manage threats. And by refusing to even acknowledge they have files on this visitor, they are telling us without saying a word that 3i Atlas is considered a potential threat. It is the ultimate bureaucratic silence. What really gets me is the specific language they used in document EF2600231. They did not just give a vague excuse. They built a legal fortress around 3i Atlas. They cited Section 3.6a of Executive Order 13526. This is the same law used for nuclear secrets and military battle plans. When the CIA invokes this, they are stating that the disclosure of information about 3i Atlas could reasonably be expected to cause damage to the national security. Damage. That is a heavy word to use for a piece of ice and dust drifting through the solar system, unless, of course, it is not ice and dust. I cannot shake the feeling that the damage they are worried about is not from the object hitting Earth, but from the public finding out what it actually is. They are protecting the fact that they can see things no one else can. But there is a darker possibility. If the source of the information is the object itself, if it has been communicating, or if we have intercepted its data, then the National Security Act is the only thing keeping that reality from the evening news. Think about what this means. The CIA is not just saying they have information about 3i Atlas. They are saying that even admitting they have information would compromise national security. That is not the language you use for a comet. That is the language you use for a weapon, or a probe, or something that fundamentally changes our understanding of our place in the universe. If the chemistry did not alert you that something was wrong, the events in Mars' orbit certainly should have. In late 2025, as 3i Atlas made its closest approach to the red planet, NASA's Maven probe was perfectly positioned. This was supposed to be our Oumuamua moment, the chance to finally get the high-definition, multispectral data we missed with the first two interstellar visitors. The world's astronomers were holding their breath, waiting for the sensors to beam back the first unfiltered images of the visitor's core from just a few thousand kilometers away. And then the signal stopped. 1 minute, Maven was healthy, its telemetry stable, its heart beating in the cold void. The next, it was just a piece of junk drifting in the darkness. NASA officially cited a technical glitch combined with a minor solar flare. But to many, that explanation feels like a convenient fiction. Think about the statistical impossibility of a probe that has survived years in the harsh Martian environment, suddenly suffering a fatal, unrecoverable failure at the exact millisecond of its most important observation. It was not just a reboot or a safe mode transition. It was a total system blackout. There are researchers now pushing back on the official story, noting that no other probes or satellites in the Martian vicinity reported any significant solar interference that day. It makes you wonder, did 3i Atlas react to being watched? One hypothesis gaining ground is that the object possesses an active defense mechanism, an electromagnetic pulse or a jamming signal designed to maintain its privacy as it moves through the solar system. Others argue the signal was not lost at all, but was deliberately cut by someone back here on Earth who did not want those images hitting the public servers. I cannot shake the feeling that we were blinded on purpose. Whether it was an act of non-human intelligence or a bureaucratic kill switch, the result is the same. The truth was scrubbed before it could even reach our screens. We are left with grainy long-distance shots from amateur telescopes, while the billion-dollar hardware we sent to explore the void has been turned into a tomb of lost data. It creates a profound sense of isolation. We are being told to trust the experts, but the experts are losing their eyes every time they get too close to the flame. The Maven incident was not just a loss of hardware, it was a strategic silence. A moment where the darkness of the universe became intentional. Here is the part that always messes with my head. If Maven was compromised, what did it see in those final seconds? Did it see a rock, or did it see a hull? The CIA's refusal to release Maven's final telemetry frames only adds fuel to the fire. We are watching a blackout in real time. According to leaked reports, Maven's final data packets contained spectroscopic readings that did not match any known cometary composition. The readings showed concentrations of refined metals, specifically nickel in ratios that suggest industrial processing. In nature, nickel and iron are almost always found together. They form together in stellar nucleosynthesis. They condense together in planetary formation. But Maven's readings showed nickel with almost no iron. That is not natural. That is refined. That is processed. Someone took raw materials, separated out the nickel, and used it to build something. And then Maven went dark. Permanently, conveniently, right after capturing this data. The official story is that it was a solar flare, but the timing is too perfect. The failure is too complete. The silence is too absolute. We are being told to accept that this was just bad luck. But when you look at the pattern, when you see how every piece of evidence that might prove 3I Atlas is artificial, gets buried or destroyed or classified, it becomes harder to believe in coincidence. If you look at the physical evidence, the CIA's behavior starts to make a terrifying kind of sense. We are not just talking about a rock, we are talking about a pattern of anomalies that point to something artificial. First, there is the composition. Early reports from the VLT in December 2025 confirmed the presence of atomic nickel in the object's coma. In the natural world, detecting heavy metals in a comet so far from the sun is almost unheard of. But in the world of engineering, nickel is the primary ingredient for high-performance superalloys. If this thing is made of processed metal, it is not a comet, it is a craft. Then there is the chemistry. Observations from the JWST confirmed that 3I Atlas has a carbon dioxide to water ratio of 7.6. To put that in perspective, that is about 7 times higher than any comet born in our solar system. It is effectively an interstellar dry ice bomb. What gets me is that these are not just minor variations. They are fundamental deviations from the laws of our own backyard. It is like finding a car that runs on liquid nitrogen instead of gasoline. It tells us that wherever 3I Atlas came from, the rules were different, or that it was manufactured with a specific chemical purpose that we do not yet understand. I cannot shake the feeling that we are looking at a piece of technology masquerading as a natural object, a Trojan horse of the void drifting silently toward our inner planets. And let us talk about the trajectory. A normal comet follows a predictable path based on gravity, but 3I Atlas has shown subtle, unexplained shifts. It is moving toward Jupiter, aiming for a specific point in the giant planet's gravitational well. It is a maneuver. It is a correction. When you add the strange metallic signature to a probe accidentally going dark and a controlled flight path, you do not get a comet. You get an interstellar traveler with a purpose. While the CIA is locking down the official data, amateur astronomers are still looking up. People are capturing images of a tail that does not look like ice sublimating in the sun. It looks like a jet. An anomalous exhaust from a system we do not understand. The government can classify its own files, but it cannot classify the sky. At least, not yet. The tension between the official silence and the growing mountain of evidence is creating a black swan moment for humanity. We are looking at the first potential evidence of a non-human intelligence, and our response as a species is being dictated by a spy agency's legal department. Amateur observers have documented something else. The light curve of 3I Atlas shows periodic dimming events, not random fluctuations, regular, precise dips in brightness that occur every 144 minutes. This is not how natural objects behave. Natural objects tumble. They rotate irregularly. Their brightness varies chaotically. But 3I Atlas is dimming like clockwork, like a mechanism, like something with moving parts that block light at regular intervals. One amateur astronomer in Australia captured time-lapse footage showing the object's coma pulsing, not continuously glowing, but pulsing in rhythm with the dimming events. This is the behavior you would expect from an engine, from a propulsion system that fires in bursts, from technology, not nature. And all of this data is publicly available. Anyone with a decent telescope can see it. Anyone with basic image processing software can analyze it. The CIA can classify their files. They can invoke the National Security Act. They can build their legal fortress, but they cannot stop people from looking up. They cannot stop the truth from leaking out through 1,000 amateur telescopes pointed at the sky. The arrival of 3I Atlas was supposed to be a moment of wonder, a chance to see something from beyond our little corner of the universe. But as 2026 begins, that wonder has been replaced by a heavy government-mandated silence. The CIA's response to the FOIA request is a reminder that we live in a world where the truth is often considered a liability. They will not tell us what they know, but their refusal to speak is the loudest signal we have ever received. It is hard not to feel small when you realize that the most important discovery in human history might be sitting in a digital vault, protected by laws from the 1940s. We are left to watch the drift of 3I Atlas from a distance, wondering if the next time we hear about it, the news will be unclassified, or if the darkness will simply swallow the story whole. Sometimes I think we underestimate how quiet the universe can be, but maybe it is only quiet because someone else is holding the microphone. And that brings us to March 17th, 2026, the date that everything changes. On this date, 3I Atlas will make its closest approach to Jupiter, but not just Jupiter, a specific location in Jupiter's gravitational sphere of influence, the Hill sphere, the invisible boundary where Jupiter's gravity dominates over the Sun's gravity. And 3I Atlas is heading for this boundary with 0.1% precision. That is not coincidence. That is navigation. Think about what this means. An object traveling through interstellar space for millions of years, entering our solar system at a specific angle, making course corrections along the way, and arriving at a precise location in Jupiter's gravity well at a precise time. That requires planning. That requires propulsion. That requires intelligence. Let me explain what the Hill sphere is, because this is critical to understanding what is about to happen. The Hill sphere marks the edge of where Jupiter's gravity finally overpowers the Sun's. It is an invisible border, a gravitational fence that separates what belongs to Jupiter from what belongs to the Sun. For a planet as massive as Jupiter, that border sits at roughly 53.5 million kilometers out. That is about 140 times the distance from Earth to the Moon. And 3I Atlas is on a trajectory to cross that line at exactly 53.6 million kilometers. That is a 0.1% margin of error. It is practically dragging its wings on the fence. Now, why does that matter? Because to stay in that sphere, to actually be captured and become a moon, an object has to slow down. If you are coming from interstellar space, you are moving way too fast. You are like a bullet trying to be caught by a piece of silk without tearing it. You have to hit the brakes, but there is no air in the vacuum to create drag. There is no natural mechanism for an object to suddenly dump its kinetic energy just as it reaches a planet, unless it is falling into a direct collision. Avi Loeb, the Harvard astronomer who has been a lightning rod for this discussion, argues that unless the object is fragmenting in a very specific, almost impossible way, the only explanation for a stable capture is propulsion. And yet we see no huge plumes of gas, no traditional rockets. What we see is a silent, ghostly adjustment. Of course, what really messes with my head is the chemical signature. Spectroscopic data suggests that 3I Atlas has an abnormally high nickel-to-iron ratio. In nature, those two usually go hand in hand. But when you find nickel by itself or in such high concentrations, it usually points to one thing: industrial refining. It is the kind of material you would use to build the hull of a craft that needs to survive a 1,000-year drift through the darkness. The no-accident premise becomes undeniable when you look at where 3I Atlas is heading. It is not just Jupiter, it is a specific neighborhood called the Ananke group. These are not your typical moons like Io or Europa. These are irregulars. They are small, jagged, and they move in a retrograde orbit, meaning they spin the opposite way of Jupiter itself. It is like a group of cars driving the wrong way on a highway. The official explanation is that they are captured asteroids, pieces of rock that got stuck in Jupiter's web eons ago. But here is the part that always gets me. We have almost no clear images of them. Despite all our missions to Jupiter, the Ananke group remains a collection of blurry pixels. It is almost as if they do not want to be seen. Take Euphemy, for instance. It is a tiny speck, only 2 kilometers wide. On March 17th, just one day after crossing the Jovian border, 3I Atlas will make a close pass to Euphemy. Now ask yourself, why would an interstellar object, having traveled across light years of the void, decide to dance with a 2-kilometer rock that orbits backwards? If you were looking for a place to hide a beacon, or a base, or a refueling station, would you not pick the place no one is looking? A place where the orbit itself acts as a cloaking device against the natural flow of the system. I cannot shake the feeling that the Ananke group is not a cluster of rocks at all, but a fleet of ancient dormant ships waiting for a signal. What gets me is the timing. In January 2026, Euphemy reached its most distant point from Jupiter. It's a poapsis, almost as if it were stepping out of the crowd to meet the visitor halfway. This kind of orbital synchronization is statistically haunting. It is like trying to hit a moving fly with a needle from a mile away. I do not know if that idea is right, but it is hard not to feel like we are witnessing a handoff. A long drift through the darkness is ending, and the docking is about to begin. If 3I Atlas enters a stable orbit with Euphemy, the captured asteroid theory falls apart. Rocks do not just decide to join a retrograde group. They are placed there. We talked about the anti-tail, but we did not talk about what it is made of. The latest spectral analysis from the deep field arrays in Chile has just come in, and it is impossible. Avi Loeb just published a new analysis that puts the sheer scale of this thing into perspective. He calculated the dimensions of this anti-tail structure. It is not just a tail, it is a bridge. It extends for over 400,000 kilometers. Let that sink in. That is larger than the distance from the Earth to the Moon. Imagine a structure, coherent, organized, and wobbling, that could bridge the gap between our world and our satellite. And it is attached to an object that is supposedly just a few hundred meters across. The math does not add up. The mass ratio is all wrong, unless the tail is not mass, unless the tail is energy. And here is the kicker. This structure is interacting with the solar wind in a way that defies fluid dynamics. Normal comet tails are passive. They are blown back by the sun's particles like smoke in the wind. They are messy. They are turbulent. They disperse. This tail, it is cutting through the solar wind. It is maintaining its shape against the stream of charged particles coming from the sun. It is coherent. That implies one thing: magnetic containment. If you have a magnetic field strong enough to shield a structure that size from the solar wind, you do not have a rock, you have a generator, you have an engine. And this engine is parking itself at Jupiter. And there is one more thing, a detail buried in the appendix of the new astrophysics paper. The wobble is not constant, it is accelerating. The frequency is increasing. The heartbeat is getting faster. Whatever this machine is doing, it is spinning up. It is preparing for something. The most terrifying part is yet to come. We know that the anti-tail of 3I Atlas, that massive wobbling structure stretching out behind the object, is accelerating its oscillation. It is spinning up, but the question remains, what is it pointing at? If this were a comet, the tail would point away from the sun. That is the law of physics. The solar wind pushes the gas and dust outward. It is simple. It is predictable. But 3I Atlas is breaking the law. The latest astrometric data, triangulated from observatories in Australia and South Africa, shows that the anti-tail is not aligned with the solar wind vector. It is off by 12 degrees. 12 degrees might not sound like much, but in celestial mechanics, it is everything. It means the tail is not being pushed. It is being aimed. So we traced the line. We followed the vector of that massive 400,000 kilometer structure out into the deep black. We wanted to see where it led. It points directly at the galactic center, Sagittarius A star, the heart of the Milky Way. The same direction it came from. Think about the implications. You have an object that enters our system, performs a gravity assist around our star, stabilizes itself, deploys a massive structure that defies the solar wind, and then locks that structure onto its point of origin. It is not a tail. It is an antenna, a high-gain transmission array. And the wobble, the oscillation we detected, that is the modulation. That is the signal being encoded into the carrier wave. We are witnessing a data dump right now as it approaches Jupiter. 3I Atlas is beaming every everything it has learned back home. It is uploading the scan data. It is reporting on us. The object is dimming again. Think about it. As an object gets closer to a massive planet like Jupiter, it should be getting brighter. That is basic physics. Sunlight reflects off the ice. It should be flaring. But 3i Atlas is doing the opposite. It is going dark. The magnitude is dropping. It is fading into the background stars. It is almost as if it knows it is being watched. It is engaging a cloak. Or maybe it is simply absorbing the energy we are trying to shine on it. Why would an interstellar object want to hide right before it reaches the most massive planet in the system? Science alert just confirmed the timeline. March 17th, 2 months from now. That is the date of the closest approach. They are calling it a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. They are telling you to look for a faint fuzzy patch in the constellation of Lepus. But they are leaving out the most important part. The object is dimming again. As it approaches Jupiter, as it gets closer to the Hill-sphere boundary, it is getting fainter, not brighter. Fainter. This is the opposite of what should happen. This is the opposite of physics. Unless it is deliberate, unless the dimming is intentional, unless 3i Atlas is hiding. I am going to show you the light curve data that has been leaked from the amateur network. It shows a pattern that looks suspiciously like binary code hidden in the dimming events. You need to see this graph. This is the photometric light curve of 3i Atlas over the last 48 hours. For those of you who are not astronomers, let me explain what you are seeing. A light curve is a graph of brightness over time. For a normal comet, a dirty snowball as NASA likes to call them, this line should be messy. It should be jagged, random, noisy. Comets rotate, they tumble, they have uneven surfaces. The light reflects off ice, then rock, then ice again. It is chaotic. But look at this line. It is flat, perfectly flat, and then drop. Flat, drop, flat, drop. These are not random fluctuations. These are pulses. The object is dimming by exactly 0.4 magnitudes every 144 minutes, regular as a clock, precise as a metronome. Nature does not make straight lines. Nature does not keep time to the millisecond. We are seeing a strobe effect, but it is not flashing light at us. It is blocking light from us. It is an inverse signal. And here is where it connects to the paper we discussed earlier, the one about the wobbling tail. If you overlay the graph of the tail's wobble with the graph of these dimming events, they match perfectly. When the tail swings left, the object dims. When the tail swings right, the object returns to baseline. This is not a tumble. This is a mechanism. Think about the physics of that. A structure larger than the distance to the moon is swinging back and forth in perfect sync with the rotation of the main body. That requires a rigid connection. That requires structural integrity that ice and dust simply do not have. If you tried to swing a cloud of dust that size back and forth, it would dissipate. It would tear itself apart. But this structure is holding together. So what are we looking at? We are looking at a massive stabilized structure that is orienting itself. And it is orienting itself relative to us. There is one final anomaly that I have not shared with you yet, something that was buried in the raw data logs of the Deep Space Network, a series of pings that started 3 hours ago. They are not coming from the comet, they are coming to it. Someone is answering. Think about what this means. For months, we have been watching 3i Atlas transmit. We have been watching it beam data back toward the galactic center. We have been watching it report on us. And now something is responding. The pings are coming from deep space, from the direction of Sagittarius A star, from the same direction that 3i Atlas came from. They are not random. They are structured. They are modulated. They are a reply. We are not just being observed. We are being communicated with, and the conversation is happening right now, in real time, as 3i Atlas approaches Jupiter. The Deep Space Network has been tracking these signals for the past 3 hours. They are faint, they are at the edge of detectability, but they are there, and they are getting stronger. As 3i Atlas gets closer to Jupiter, as it approaches the Hill-sphere boundary, the signals are increasing in intensity, as if whatever is sending them knows that the critical moment is approaching, as if they are coordinating, as if they are preparing for something. This is where the CIA and the national security state come in. It has recently been revealed that 3i Atlas data is being handled under protocols dating back to 1947. For those who know their history, 1947 was the year of the Roswell incident. Why would a comet trigger a 70-year-old secrecy protocol? The silence from the official channels is becoming deafening. Why are the high-resolution images being classified? Why is a 1947 Secrecy Act being used to redact orbital coordinates? You do not hide information about a snowball. You hide information about a probe. 3I Atlas is moving against the current of the solar system, and it is heading straight for the boat. Some astronomers argue it is just a fragmenting body, but fragments do not perform orbital corrections. They do not navigate to Euphemie. We are watching the birth of a 96th moon, a moon that was not there yesterday, a moon that chose to stay. What gets me is the psychological impact of this secrecy. By keeping the data classified, they are trying to keep us in a state of perpetual uncertainty. As long as it is just a weird comet, we do not have to change our worldview. We can keep pretending that the void is empty, but 3I Atlas is forcing our eyes open. If Avi Loeb is right and a new moon is detected after March 17th, it is irrefutable evidence of technology. Nature does not have brakes, but 3I Atlas is clearly slowing down. We are living through the days that will be written about in textbooks 1,000 years from now. March 17th is coming. Do not look away. We are looking at the smoking gun, the evidence that 3I Atlas is not just a rock tumbling through the dark. Today is January 13th, 2026. We are 63 days away from March 17th. 63 days until 3I Atlas crosses the Jupiter Hill sphere. 63 days until it reaches Euphemie. 63 days until we find out if this is really just a comet or if it is something else entirely. What should you be watching for? First, watch for any announcements about orbital changes. If 3I Atlas suddenly adjusts its trajectory in the next few weeks, that is a sign that it is making final course corrections for the rendezvous. Second, watch for changes in brightness. If the object suddenly brightens or dims dramatically, that could indicate a change in activity. It could mean the engine is firing. It could mean the antenna is deploying. It could mean something is happening. Third, watch for any unusual activity in the Ananke group. If other moons in that cluster start showing strange behavior, if they start moving in unexpected ways, that could be a sign that they are waking up. And fourth, watch for the silence. Watch for what is not being said. Watch for the data that is being classified. Watch for the scientists who suddenly stop talking about 3I Atlas, because the silence is the loudest signal of all. If this is really just a comet, there is no reason to hide the data. There is no reason to classify the images. There is no reason to invoke 1947 protocols. But if it is something else, if it is a probe, if it is first contact, then the silence makes perfect sense. They are not ready to tell us yet. They are not ready for the world to know. But on March 17th, they will not have a choice. Because either 3I Atlas will pass by Euphemie and continue on its way, proving it is just a comet, or it will enter orbit and become Jupiter's 96th moon, proving it is something else entirely. We are 63 days away from the truth. Let us talk about what it means if I am right. What it means if 3I Atlas really is a probe, and the Ananke group really is a fleet of ancient ships. First, it means we are not alone. It means there is another civilization out there, somewhere in the Milky Way, that has the technology to send probes across interstellar distances. Second, it means they have been watching us. The Ananke group has been in Jupiter's orbit for who knows how long. Thousands of years? Millions? They have been sitting there, dormant, waiting for the right moment to activate. And that moment is now, because we have finally developed the technology to detect them. We have finally reached the point where we can see what is really out there. Third, it means they are interested in us. They did not just send one probe, they sent a whole fleet. They positioned them in our solar system, in orbit around our largest planet, in a location where they could observe us without being easily detected. Why? What do they want? Are they just observing? Are they studying us like we study animals in a zoo? Or is there something more? Are they waiting for us to reach a certain level of development before they make contact? Are they waiting for us to prove we are ready? Or are they waiting for something else? Some event, some trigger, some moment when they will reveal themselves? I do not know. Nobody knows. But on March 17th, we might start to find out. Because if 3I Atlas docks with Euphemie, if it becomes Jupiter's 96th moon, if the Ananke group activates, then everything changes. We will have proof that we are not alone. We will have proof that there is intelligent life out there. We will have proof that they have been here, watching us, for a very long time, and we will have to decide what to do about it. Now, I know what the skeptics are going to say. They are going to say, I am jumping to conclusions. They are going to say, I am seeing patterns where there are none. They are going to say, I am a conspiracy theorist. And maybe they are right. Maybe I am seeing things that are not there. Maybe 3I Atlas really is just a weird comet, and all of these anomalies have natural explanations that we just have not figured out yet. But here is the thing. The burden of proof has shifted. We have seen too many anomalies, too many coincidences, too many things that do not make sense if this is just a natural object. The high nickel to iron ratio, the non-gravitational acceleration, the wobbling anti-tail, the precision targeting of euphemy, the 0.1% margin of error on the Hill sphere crossing, the dimming behavior, the light curve that looks like binary code, the 1947 protocols, the Maven blackout, the CIA's Glomar response. Any one of these things by itself could be explained away, but all of them together? That is not coincidence. That is a pattern. And when you see a pattern, you have two choices. You can ignore it and pretend everything is normal, or you can follow it and see where it leads. I am choosing to follow it, because I think the truth is more important than comfort, and I think on March 17th, we are going to find out just how uncomfortable the truth really is. 3I Atlas is out there right now. As you are reading this, it is moving through space at tens of thousands of miles per hour, heading toward Jupiter, heading toward Eupheme, heading toward its destination. Every day it gets closer. Every day the countdown ticks down. Every day we get closer to the moment of truth. March 17th, 2026. That is the date. That is when we will know. Will 3I Atlas pass by Eupheme and continue on its way, proving it is just a comet? Or will it enter orbit and become Jupiter's 96th moon, proving it is something else entirely? I do not know. Nobody knows. But we are about to find out. And whatever happens, it is going to change everything. Because if 3I Atlas is a probe, if the Ananke group is a fleet, if we are being watched by an ancient civilization, then we are not alone. We have never been alone. And the universe is about to get a lot more crowded. The CIA can classify their files. They can invoke the National Security Act. They can build their legal fortress around the truth. But they cannot stop March 17th from coming. They cannot stop 3I Atlas from reaching its destination. They cannot stop the truth from revealing itself. Sometimes I think we underestimate how quiet the universe can be, and how much we have come to rely on that silence to keep our sanity intact. But the silence is about to be broken. The void is talking now, and 3I Atlas is the message. What do you think is hidden in those classified files? Is it a threat, or is it a promise that we are not as alone as we thought? Let me know your theories in the comments. It is in these conversations that we keep the search for truth alive. If you want to stay on the edge of the void with us, make sure to subscribe and leave a like. It helps us keep the light on in the darkness. Until next time, keep looking up. The truth is out there, even if it is currently classified. The countdown has begun. 63 days until March 17th. 63 days until we find out if natural rocks really can hit the brakes. Until then, stay curious. Keep watching the stars, because they are definitely watching us. The alligator is here. It is hungry for a destination, and it is already parking in the driveway.